Just got a call from a member of the public, and they're in an area of the Northern Beaches like Mona Vale, like Manly Vale, like French's Forest, like Manly, and they're worried about the new zoning changes that are coming through. Her words were a ghetto. She was worried that her area was going to turn to a ghetto because there's been a lot of new development that's going to be coming through. And I sort of said to her, look, don't worry. I was worried when DY got 400 units with Meriton. I was worried there was going to be too many units in the area, but that pool of buyers is not just DY. That pool of buyers is, North Shore, Upper North Shore, Lower North Shore, eastern suburbs, western suburbs. They're all attracted to the Northern Beaches. So it actually has. We're not just attracting or affecting the prices in our area. There won't be too much supply in the area because we're pulling in from a lot of other areas. So what you'll see here is the Minns government has, and I'm going to send everyone the link. The Minns government has, it's called TOD, T-O-D, Low and Medium House Policy. There's a map that you can actually see how each block exactly is affected. It's really unusual, and because when you actually write something in like DY and you look at something like DY, it doesn't sort of happen like you think it's going to happen. So for instance, DY, I was speaking to some people, a client that's got quite a large site at the moment in Manly, and they were like, "Oh, I missed it." I'm like, "What do you mean?" He goes, "Oh, I'm not. This was for Manly though." He goes, "I'm not within this perimeter." I said, "No. These are the areas here that are actually included now." So a lot of people who are getting a little bit of information are going onto this site and they're going, "Oh, I've got to be within this perimeter to get the gold." What they've actually done is they've actually pulled out the enterprise areas. So they've pulled out, for instance, along here on the beachfront. You'd think, oh, that's definitely in. It's DY Beach. It's actually not in because they were zoned for business. So the Minns government has actually targeted areas of R2 and R3 specifically. And these areas are not zoned R2 or R3 in these. This is sort of the heavy shopping area at the moment. So they sort of excluded that out of policy. So with these areas here, and to give you an idea, if you're in the hot zone, so these areas here are R2s and they are R3s. Now, if you want to know if it's an R2 or R3, you can go to the spatial planning portal and have a look if you're an R2 or R3. Now, what that actually means, if you're in these areas, and this is just honing in on DY, but you can see all of New South Wales is affected. Areas that get an upshot on the Northern Beaches are also the Forest area. Areas that also get an upshot on the Northern Beaches are Manly Vale. Areas Balgala, Manly, DY you can see, Collaroy and Narrabeen did not get an uplift. Warriewood has got the uplift. Now, if you're wondering why that has happened in these areas, when this was in the making in the last 6 months, they actually, Brookvale has got a nice uplift. The reason why is they wanted to be within 400 metres or 800 metres to a full service supermarket, and a full service supermarket was a floor plate, I think it read over 1,000 metres squared. So these areas, because they've deemed those areas to be able to support, further density, because they've got the shopping, they've got the transport and that sort of stuff. So Collaroy and parts of Narrabeen weren't quite as attractive for the Minns government, but these areas were, and they thought that they could support further density. So if you're an R3 in DY, there's a thing called a floor space ratio that you still comply with. But if you're an R3 area, they can go up to 6 stories automatically, and they can do, yeah, there's a yes there, 6 stories automatically, and they can do 22 metres within that 6 stories. So 22, 6 stories is higher than that building next door. So you'll find, for instance, if I look into DY, people in DY, like I know DY a little bit like the back of my hand, down here is generally all R3. So they were always limited to 3 stories. Now they're 6. So they've doubled in height all through this area, and you can actually put your DA in from the 28th. What are this month?
So it's effective almost immediately.
Pretty much immediately there. But what I've also noticed with people with that is not only is it automatic, but they've actually switched. There's wording in here where they said they're switching off the LEP. So they're actually switching off controls that are governing these sites for the purpose of TOD. So the Minns government's brought this up. They promised they're going to do this. They're doing this. It's also considerate towards dual occupancies under R2 and manor housing. Manor housing is a brand new word that they've started to don around a lot lately. And manor housing is almost like a small unit block. Villas, townhouses, all of those areas within the R2 will actually now be unlocked as well. So it's really exciting for people.
What's the minimum lot size?
Minimum lot size varies, but it's from about 500 metres. It's about 500 metres squared is the lot sizes.
Wow.
So most lots are just unlocked if they're over 500 metres squared. So just if you do tinker around on this and you are looking on this, I'll ask you to, which is that link that I'm sending. That's here. Billy sent it over. If I go back to Billy's link.
So Mark, that's for R3. What about R2? Is that affected?
R2, yeah. So it's for R2 and R3. So those orange areas are both one or the other, I should say. So you've actually got to go onto the planning portal to see if you're an R2 area or an R3 area. Generally, most people are an R2. I'd say 80-90%. But there are some really nice little blocks in Mountain Valley that it's actually R3. So you've seen blocks that have been isolated over time. They've had a unit block over there and they're too small to do anything. They're not too small anymore, which is cool. So if you're going to be cruising through here, I do like there's good summaries, planning controls, site selections all through here. The app was a little bit more friendly when I went through it, but does anyone have any questions? There's an idea of some low density. Like imagine like a typical house. Now that you're within 800 metres, instead of you were only limited to a house before, now you can start doing stuff like this. Townhouses.
What are they saying for apartments? How high do you think you can go?
6 stories, 22 metres.
Okay, so just to recap.
R3.
Sorry.
Anyway.
R3. If you're in R3. So there's never been an emphasis for us to know R2 or R3 as real estate agents or as property owners. Now there's even more of an emphasis to know.
I'm saying R3 anywhere.
Anyway, well, within that yeah, and generally it's about 800 metres to a full service supermarket.
There's still some FSR they work too, or not?
Yeah, they've got FSR controls in there. I think the one that I saw in there for some of them was 2.2 to 1. So someone on a block of 600, it's 1500 GFA. Yeah.
So R3, 6 stories, minimum lot size 500 metres squared. R2, how many stories for R2? Because it won't be 6 stories.
Yeah, so basically, to answer that question, if you jump onto their site, one, there's the map, the map which shows you that. 2, there's might show you on my phone because that was a little bit more friendlier to. on Special Forces, wasn't it?
Yep.
So that's that all in that Special Forces chat. Same. Okay. Screen. Zoom room.
Massive changes.
Yeah, huge.
Huge changes.
So in
Wow.
here you got talks about site selection, public, how they've chosen the sites. It talks about
What's the app
loading.
called, Mark?
It's the spatial. It's Planning New South Wales.
Planning New South Wales, yeah.
.gov.au. But there's a really cool little area that I saw. It talks about different councils, but it's just a really big. Okay, that's our DY. Low to mid housing areas. That's that area that I just brought up there.
So sorry, just to recap, did you know how many levels for R2?
No. Yeah, it is all all that is available through here. So, from memory,
9.5 metres. So
yeah,
9.5 for R2, and what's the minimum lot size on that?
it's about 500 as well. You got that, Steves?
450, I think it might be.
450
450 for a dual lock.
for a dual lock. So you can start doing dual locks. You can start doing townhouses.
Yeah, dual locks 450 square meters, minimum lot width 12 meters.
So-
Yeah, the 12 meters is a big
So
one.
they have a 12 metre
So-
frontage of a 450 square metre
12 meter
block.
frontage.
Dual lock.
So
in
you're
that
almost
catchment.
sitting on a gold mine if you've got
In that
something in that catchment, and your minimum lot size is 450, and you're in an R2.
And you're 12.5 metres wide.
You'd imagine you're going to have a lot of developers snapping that up. Wowsy.
All right, guys. So that's just what I guess the main thing at the moment is just let's start troweling the portal. Have a look through that portal when I'm there. If clients are asking questions, direct them to the portal. That's the source. But there's some really good area in there. Someone's high-fiving over here. What's happening?
Oh no, we just someone in the room actually fits into this category.
Yeah.
So really, they're almost just sitting on a gold mine, really.
Yeah. There are.
Because all those property values would go up.
Yeah, look, and I think also where people are going to be turning to us is there's some people that are concerned with change, and I think to understand that you've still got to find a builder, you've still got to fund it, you've still got to build it, you've still got to take it turnkey. Like, this is it's not a overnight thing. This is probably a 5-year pipeline for people of delivery of the project, but it's great news for a lot of people. It may even unlock some existing unit blocks. If you're a unit block in DY of 4 that you could never develop any further later,
Building into that airspace.
you may find you're going to the airspace and doing 8 units now. It's suddenly unlocked, airspaces on top of units.
Yeah,
It's
wow.
old unit blocks. Any other questions?
That's huge.
The map that you had there,
Yeah.
the map that you had up, if you could bring it back up, it excluded specific blocks in areas, like for example DY.
Yeah, so if the areas were, so if I go to the map,
Yeah,
the map, and I type in DY as an example,
Yep.
they were areas where they already had commercial zoning.
So that they're existing commercial. Oh,
Yeah, so you can see DY beachfronts commercially zoned.
Yeah.
They've taken it out. And you can see DY Centre is commercially zoned. The word they've used lately is called E1, enterprise, instead of business. It used to have B5, Steve. Now a lot of stuff just says, I know it says B, enterprise, E1, E5, whatever it is. But yeah, that's all enterprise
Yeah.
or commercially zoned stuff. So they've left it alone.
Yeah, and that's the same with those like little blocks you can see in the orange zones, how there's gaps like on your right hand side.
That's a
yeah, exactly like
a
that.
lot of these.
a
A
little
lot
bit
of these
down.
parks.
Yeah, okay.
Some of those are parks
Oh, you mean the old
Yeah.
that are through here.
the council.
Council Park, yeah, like kids' playground or whatever.
Okay.
But I think that's all. It's a massive change for our area. Like May Road, they've included across the road, but that's Stony Range, the reserve park, so that's out. But you can look at that scale in Manly Vale. Look, Manly Vale's a good typical suburb because it has a lot of units from 20 or even 50 years ago, and then all these houses in between that were just too small to do anything with. This has unlocked dual occupancy for those, or
But some of
R3 for
these
those.
regulations must have applied 20 years ago, because I've actually sold a townhouse in Fisher Road that was on a block size of about 550, and they were side by side townhouses.
yeah,
And so there must have been a stage where they were approving that stuff.
yeah, dual occupancy.
And now they've
There was-
brought it back.
There was a lot of dual occupancy. There was Set 5 that came through, which was if you were 800 metres to and level walk to a bus stop and shopping centre, or shopping centre, they would allow dual occupancy homes, or over 55 homes. So it was like a cluster homes. There was a couple in Manly Vale across the golf course. You'll see. They're like mini unit blocks, but dual occupancy was the biggest change we saw in the 90s, where it came, but it was taken off the table. Here's a tip: dual occupancy came off the table. A lot of people started gearing up. Then you probably remember, gearing up and buying, getting into a system, and they got burnt because the legislation changed quickly, and they were sitting on these sites they could no longer do dual occupancy on. So. Yeah, I think it's for us just and for clients just be careful because these policy changes, as much as they come in, is as fast as they can go, which we saw with dual occupancy. Any other questions? All good?